Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the UFO Whistleblower Marathon. This is part 3 of the 3-part series. Remember, all of these gentlemen have testified in front of Congress under oath. Today we have Eric Hecker, who is a firefighter contractor for Raytheon, which is a military-industrial complex company. And he was in Antarctica at a Raytheon facility and says that Raytheon has the technology to produce earthquakes all throughout the planet. You were in the South Pole from 2010 to 2011. Let's talk about what you were doing down there.
I was contracted for the summer season as a plumber. I did well enough in my summer season to garner a winter contract as well, which got me my full year's stay. I was also tasked with being a firefighter. I was a lead on the firefighting team, and because of that dual role capacity, I physically held a key that opened every single door in the facility. I had complete access to every compartment they manufactured.
What are you blowing the whistle on?
That there are technologies at the South Pole Station that people can't even consider that exist on this planet.
Like what?
Directed energy weapon systems is something that people need to get in their vocabulary fast. The ice cube neutrino detector is not simply a passive listening device as presented for the science that they're claiming it to do. It also has the capacity to transmit. There are embedded in the ice what are called digital optical modules, DOMs. They're about the size of a basketball. The array embedded in the ice is 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer. It is the world's largest telescope. And now, because we have proven that it can transmit, it's the world's largest directed energy weapons system. It is responsible for the earthquakes in Christchurch, New Zealand in 2011 on the front end of the year.
How do you know for a fact that that was responsible for that?
Because I was present and I have gone over this with the pertinent people that I will not be releasing their names.
Okay.
But I was on the team, let's just say, and I've confirmed this.
Well,
I've provided documentation from the actual manufacturer's specs. So this unit was constructed, operated, and maintained by the University of Wisconsin, and just like every other device on the planet, whether you're driving an M1 Abrams tank or operating the ice cube neutrino detector, there's operator's manuals that tell you how things work. Right there in that information, free for everybody to find. I found it myself, and it states very clearly that each one of these DOMs can transmit at 2,047 volts each. So these are currently the facts of life.
do you have any idea how the earthquake was initiated?
From misfiring the system.
Where
were they targeting?
Yes.
I don't know.
Does it go into the earth? Does it go into the atmosphere?
It can definitely go through the earth. I would consider that it might be able to do stuff in the atmosphere. I haven't heard that statement laid at its feet, but I wouldn't put it past it. I don't want to try to limit the functions of this device by my imagination or experience. I believe that's one of the problems with directed energy weapons is they are not like standard weapons of old where you have a gun and a particular caliber bullet, you pull the trigger and it does one thing. These platforms are way more complex than that. They do a lot of things.
What else do they do?
This system, additionally, in regards to the neutrinos, it detects the neutrinos that are apparently coming off of the new exotic propulsion systems for either off-world UFOs or reverse-engineered stuff on our planet.
What is neutrino?
Neutrino is a near-massless particle that goes at, close, or beyond the speed of light. It is so small that it can pass between the electron shell and the nucleus of pretty much every atom on the planet. And the capacity of being detected at the South Pole Station, when the neutrino impacts the nucleus of the water molecule of the ice in the glaciers at the pole, a reaction occurs. The nucleus and the neutrino become destroyed. A muon is created and ejected, and a blue flash of light known as Cherenkov radiation flashes in the ice, and that's what the DOMs, the digital optical modules, are detecting. That's their primary purpose as presented, thus making it basically an air traffic control center for all non-discussed vehicles on this planet. So just like we have all the other air traffic on the planet and it's being completely observed and attended to, there's just another level of craft on this planet and another level of air traffic control tower that exists. This is that facility.
Let's talk about what else do they do?
The device is also for faster than light communications, quantum entangled communications at great distance. In, I guess it was the late 80s or early 90s, Gary McKinnon hacked NASA. And he found the list of the off-world space fleet and the captains of the ships respectively. We have a fleet out there. If we have a fleet out there, we need to communicate with them. This is that facility. It's just the new level of science that affords us the ability to communicate at any distance instantaneously.
What other kind of things can this?
Oh boy. Voice-to-skull technology. This is also in the foray of directed energy weapons.
What is that?
The ability to, let's just say, throw your voice into your head or my voice into my head, or allowing algorithms that now they can blanket a whole geographical area and they can make everybody change their thoughts. They can, I use the term intrusive thoughts. Back to that fork in the road analogy. If you find yourself where you have to make a decision about something, next thing you know, you catch yourself kind of having an argument in your head with your own voices. Well, the ability to add another one of your voices in there, but have it controlled by somebody else's microphone, so to say, is a very powerful tool. And I think this is a weapon of war that we are seeing happen to everyone around us. The Department of Defense recently started initiating protocols for their employees, their agents, to discuss Havana syndrome-like symptoms. And on that list is that their agents are hearing voices in their head. And this is what they're getting at. This is that technology that, next thing you know, you're trying to make a decision, but there's another Shawn in your head that now is actually somebody else's control. And through the manipulation of that voice, they can now push you, just like we have, the cell phones are weaponized now, the social media platforms, and they can engage with an algorithm, and they know that they can push you in a direction by repetitive information being displayed in front of you. They can learn your system, and they can learn to manipulate it on a personalized level by just assessing you, what the things are that you're interested in, what are your weak points, what's the crack in the dam, what's the angle of attack. And it's through repetition and access. These are simply electromagnetic impulses in your head. It's not that they can't be read. It's not that they can't be copied. And it's not that they can't be just replayed with somebody else's control. I could call your loved ones and I could pretend I'm Shawn. And they can do that for you in your own head.
How are you finding all of this out?
Years of research. The McDonald's Corporation just had an ad come out a few months ago that they're looking into research and development in a technology that will afford them the ability to pump their commercials into your brain while you're sleeping. Do you think that they figured this out or some other company figured it out first? You think if they're going to have this available to them next year, you think that there weren't agencies that have been wielding this for a decade or so?
You're 100. Is there any? Where can I read about this?
It's immediately available on the internet that McDonald's put this out there.
McDonald's
Corporation is looking into putting commercials into our brains while we're sleeping.
And we can look that up.
Absolutely. If they can do that next year,
with you.
Who's been doing it for the last decade or so?
I'm with you. I'm
right?
100% with you.
So now when we look around the world and we see everybody acting the way that they are acting, let's consider that these intrusive thoughts have already been present. What do we do about this? These are the weapons of war contemporarily. It's very unfortunate, but it used to be that war was a bit more noble when we selected people, we put them in uniforms, we sent them over there to the battlefield, and we said, fight for us. And effectively, that would have been an act of attrition of each nation's resources until there was a victor. Now, unfortunately, they've circumnavigated the battlefield. Nobody's dressed in uniforms anymore, and the front line is every neighborhood that we're in. And the infrastructure is still under attack. It's just that now the average mortgage payer is in the line of fire. The list of Havana syndrome-like symptoms, which my South Pole crew and many South Pole crews are suffering, that other agencies are suffering, if people pay really close attention, they're going to notice that these symptoms are prevalent in the general population as well.
I mean, is there anything else going on down there? I mean, we just went through a lot of stuff here.
Yes, actually. There's a system known as ELF, extra low frequency. It's also a massive antenna that's embedded in the ice there. When I arrived to the facility, as a tradesman and firefighter. I was read into how everything worked because I needed for the safety of my crew to be able to battle fires and engage things appropriately. And at the onset, I was told that the ELF system is off. It's defunct, it's disabled, it is just sitting dead in the ice. But through my need to make an additional repair on something else and tracing back to a sub panel, I was finding the circuit that I needed to lock out, tag out, and do all the safe repairs. But then I noticed that this other breaker that was supposed to be off was in the on position, and it was listed as the ELF. And I ran it up my chain. I said, what's going on here? I said, this is supposed to be off. I was told it's off now. And I was just given a hard, it's on. And that was the end of my need to know. They didn't want to tell me anything else. You have identified the circuit that you need to work on. You have been informed that you can safely do your job. Carry on. So I did my job. I made the repair that I needed to on the circuit next to the circuit that I was now informed is duly on and operating. So the ELF is up and running, and that, again, is a multifaceted directed energy weapons platform. The Atmospheric Research Observatory, as I testified in DC, I witnessed myself in doing my standard rounds in the winter season at South Pole Station, that building would, with great regularity, have a very powerful green laser beam shooting out of it into the cosmos.
You say a lot of the crew members from the South Pole are experiencing Havana syndrome symptoms. What are some of those symptoms?
They have mental degradation, troubles with their memory, fatigue, skin issues.
Headaches?
Yes.
Are you aware of any ways to defend against that?
Know thyself. It's an ancient practice, and it's an ancient practice for a reason. These modern technologies are bastardizations of ancient techniques. I want to emphasize that we are currently in a state of war that people aren't realizing. These weapons are being wielded around us, against us. There are power players that are above nation states. Geographical boundaries and political parties mean very little to the wealthy elite on this planet. We're pawns, we're chattel. I am a person for the people. We, the people of this planet, deserve a better future than the one we are being presented.